Welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about finding the volume of pyramids and cones. Let's jump in. Let's take a minute to review some of the things that we've already covered. So, pyramids and cones are solid shapes that exist in three-dimensional space. Now, a pyramid has sides that are triangular faces and some kind of a polygon base, and the base can be any shape. You can see some examples here of pyramids. Now, like pyramids, cones have a base and a point at the top. However, cones always have this circular base here. We've talked about this before. And they only have one side, and it's curved. All right, let's continue to review with our definition of volume. Now, remember, volume is the measure of how much space a three-dimensional figure holds. And I want you to imagine a funnel. Okay, its size determines how much water the funnel will hold. If we fill it with water, the amount of water represents the volume of the funnel. We've talked about this before. Now, we measure volume in cubic units. Remember, that's because we're dealing with three dimensions: length, width, and height. So now let's talk about finding the volume of a pyramid. So what we can do is we can start by comparing a pyramid to a similar figure. Now, we know that a prism has a length, a width, and a height. And the parallel bases of a prism can be any polygon. So this one has a square base, so we call it a cube. All right? Now, I want you to think about a pyramid. Now, a pyramid has a base that can be any polygon, and the base of this pyramid is a square. So why are we talking about these two separate shapes? Because I wanted you to pay attention to the fact that they are similar because they have square bases. Okay? And it may help your understanding of the volume of a pyramid to compare it to the volume of the cube or prism. And you can see here, I put the prism inside the cube. And you'll see how this can help us. So, to find the volume of this cube, we are going to multiply the area of the base by the height. Okay? So to find the volume of the pyramid, we take the area of the base, B, highlight that, and multiply it by the height, and then we're going to multiply it by 1/3. So here's the formula for finding the volume of a pyramid. Volume equals 1/3 base times height. And you can see because the triangle doesn't fill up the whole cube. So it's 1/3 base height times height. Okay, so here again is a formula for finding the volume of a pyramid, 1/3 base times height. So, important note, you may want to write this down. The capital B means we need to find the area of the base. Okay? If the base is a square, we will use one formula. If the base is a triangle, we would need to use a different formula. Okay, so making sure you have the correct formula is essential in working with pyramids. So let's look at an example. What is the volume of this pyramid? If you need to pause your video, feel free. Let's work this one out. So first we need to decide and determine what shape the base is. Okay, one side is 10 centimeters. And one side is 6. So we know that the base is a rectangle, and we need to use the area formula for rectangles to find B, the base area. This is pretty easy, just length times width, or 10 times 6, or 60 centimeters squared. Okay, so that's the area of the pyramid's base, 60 square centimeters. Now we're gonna multiply it by the height and 1/3 to follow our formula. Oops, too far. Okay. Volume equals 1/3 base times height. That's our formula. So we're just going to plug in the numbers, and it's pretty simple math, as you'll see. So plug in our numbers, we get volume equals 1/3 60 times 15. Volume equals 20 times 15. The volume equals 300 centimeters cubed. So the volume of this pyramid is 300 cubic centimeters. Again, remember, we are writing our answer in cubic units because we're measuring three different dimensions. Here's another example. Find the volume of this figure below. Okay, now this time I want you to pay attention to the fact that the base is a triangle, as you can see. So we need to use the area formula for triangles to find the base area. Now be careful not to confuse the height of the base triangle with the height of the whole pyramid. right, let's use our formula for triangles. Base equals 1/2 base times height equals 1/2 times 8 times 3 equals 4 times 3 equals 12 inches squared. That's for our triangle base. Okay, now the base area for the triangular prism is going to be 12 square inches. We just solved. And we just need to put that into the formula and solve for V, for volume. So volume equals 1/3 BH, base height. Volume equals 1/3 12 times 17, which gives us 4 times 17, which gives us a volume of 68 inches cubed. Okay, so let's talk about, here's a long title for you, recognizing the relationship between the volume of a cone and the volume of a cylinder with the same base and height. We're going to do the same thing now with a cone and a cylinder. So to figure out the volume of a cone, we can compare it to another solid figure, and the closest figure to a cone would be a cylinder, okay? Because both of them have, you guessed it, circular bases. Now, while a cylinder has 2 circular bases, one on the top and one on the bottom, a cone does only have 1, but they're still figures that we can compare. Let's take a look. Okay, so here's a cylinder, and the formula for finding the volume of a cylinder is volume equals pi r squared h. Now, think about a cone. Okay, how can we find the volume of a cone using the information we know about cylinders? Think about a cone inside a cylinder. You can see I have in the picture here. Okay, you can see that they're related, and the base is the same in both the cone and the cylinder. All right, so to find the volume of the cone, we're going to use a similar formula. We're going to use a formula similar to that of a pyramid, but we're going to take into consideration, and I'm going to highlight this, that the base of a cone is a circle. That's very different. Therefore, we will find the area of the circle to find the volume of the cone. So to do that, here's another important formula to write down in your notebook. Volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. Okay, so we need to find the area of the circle that's the base of the cone. Highlight that for you. And that formula will be pi r squared. That's pretty easy. Okay, next we can take that measurement and multiply it by the height of the cone. And next, because the cone only fills part of the cylinder, we're also going to multiply 1/3 into that formula. So let's take a look at it. So the example says find the volume of the cone. Find the volume of the following cone, and we're going to start by substituting the given values into the formula. So volume equals 1/3 pi r squared h. We just plug all the numbers in and go. Equals 1/3 times 3.14 times 5 squared times 7. There's our numbers plugged in. You can see them over here. Okay, and that gives us 5 squared times 7 is 175. So now we go down here to 3.14 times 175. We get 1/3 times 549.5. And when we multiply that, we get 183.16 inches cubed. See, it's not so bad once you just remember those formulas. All right, last, let's take a look at a real-world problem that involves pyramids and cones. Okay, here we go. Felice bought a candle for her friend's birthday party. The package says that the candle burns, I'll highlight this, 1 hour for every 20 cubic centimeters of wax. How many hours, remember, pay attention to what they're asking you, will it take for the entire candle to burn? And we've got some measurements here, 24 and 12. So, first of all, we want to figure out what the problem is asking us to do. We need to find the number of hours that the candle's going to burn. Ultimately, that's our goal. Now, this depends on how big the candle is. So first, we need to find the volume, right? Now, we know the dimensions of the base, which is a square, and we're going to use the area formula for squares to find the base area of that candle. So we get B equals S squared, and that side is 12, so we get B equals 12 squared. So B equals 144 centimeters squared. So now we know that the base of the pyramid is 144 square centimeters, and we can put that information into the formula and solve for V, for volume. So V equals 1/3 BH. That gives us 1/3 times 144 times 24, which gives us 48 times 24, which gives us a volume of 1,152 centimeters cubed. So are we done? Nope, we're not done yet, because the question asked us, what did the question ask us? it asked us to find how many hours the candle was gonna burn. Remember? So it tells us that the candle burns 1 hour for every 20 cubic centimeters of wax. So to find out how many hours the candle's gonna burn, we need to divide the total volume of wax by what? By 20. So 1,152 divided by 20 equals 57.6. So that candle that she bought is actually gonna burn for 57.6 hours. All right, guys, that just about does it for this lesson. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.